What does it feel like to stand on a stage that symbolizes the pinnacle of political power, while the eyes of the world are upon you? For Barron Trump, this was reality, not once, but twice. From his quiet debut at Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017 to his composed presence at the farewell ceremony in 2021, Barron's appearances have sparked endless curiosity. How did he process these historic moments as a child? And how has his perspective changed over the years? More importantly, what has Barron himself revealed about these pivotal events? Let's look into it in detail. The crisp January air enveloped Washington, D.C. on the morning of 20 January 2017, as the world's attention turned to the U.S. Capitol. It was the day Donald Trump would be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. The streets were filled with anticipation, with supporters waving flags, wearing the iconic red "Make America Great Again" hats, and lining the route to witness history in the making. The National Mall, iconic for its role in past inaugurations, buzzed with activity, cameras rolling to capture every moment for the world to see. Among the prominent faces of the Trump family was a quiet and reserved figure who caught the eye of many: 10-year-old Barron Trump. Barron, the youngest of the Trump children, had not been a frequent face in the public eye before this day. However, as he stood beside his mother, Melania Trump, and the rest of his family on the Capitol stage, he became a symbol of curiosity for many. His composed demeanor and youthful expressions were a stark contrast to the gravity of the event unfolding before him. Standing tall for his age, Barron watched as his father raised his right hand to take the oath of office, pledging to uphold the Constitution and serve the nation. The ceremony itself was steeped in tradition and marked by grandeur. Trump's inaugural address was delivered with his characteristic tone, emphasizing themes of national renewal, patriotism, and promises to restore power to the people. It was a speech that resonated with his supporters and polarized critics, but for Barron, it was likely an overwhelming experience. He stood quietly, glancing at the massive crowd that stretched toward the Washington Monument, a scene few 10-year-olds could ever imagine witnessing firsthand. Throughout the event, Barron's presence was subtle, yet impactful. His reserved mannerisms drew attention from the media, with many pointing out his calm and collected posture amidst the spectacle. The young boy appeared introspective, his expressions offering glimpses of both curiosity and perhaps the fatigue that comes with such a long and significant day. The cameras captured every detail, from the way he stayed close to his mother, to his occasional glances at his father, who now held the highest office in the nation. The day's events transitioned seamlessly from the swearing-in ceremony to the inaugural parade, a tradition dating back decades. The Trump family, including Barron, walked part of the route down Pennsylvania Avenue, waving to the gathered crowds. Barron's quiet presence during the parade was noted again, with commentators highlighting his poised behavior despite the overwhelming attention. It was a moment that underscored the unique position he held, not just as the president's son, but as a child experiencing an event of immense historical significance. Over the years, this image of Barron Trump at the 2017 inauguration would remain a point of discussion. Media outlets often revisited the event, analyzing his demeanor and contrasting it with the more outspoken and public personas of his older siblings. Barron's quiet nature added an air of mystery, with many speculating about how he processed such a monumental occasion at such a young age. Some commentators admired his ability to remain composed under the intense spotlight, while others wondered about the challenges he might have faced growing up in a family so firmly entrenched in the public eye. Years later, Barron would reflect on this experience in rare remarks that offered insight into his perspective. While he has largely maintained a private life, his few comments about the day reveal a deeper understanding of its significance. During a family gathering, he mentioned how surreal it felt to stand on that stage and witness his father's inauguration. "It's not something you fully grasp as a kid," he once shared. "You know it's important, but it's hard to process everything when it's happening in front of you." These reflections, though brief, provide a glimpse into the unique challenges and privileges that come with being part of such a high-profile family. For Barron, the inauguration was not just a historical moment for the country, but a personal milestone that would shape his future in ways he might not have fully realized at the time. His reserved nature and limited public appearances further fueled public curiosity, making each glimpse into his perspective all the more compelling. The 2017 inauguration also marked the beginning of a turbulent presidency that would leave an indelible mark on American history. For Donald Trump, the day represented a culmination of a campaign that defied expectations and reshaped the political landscape. For Barron, it was the start of a journey that placed him at the intersection of personal and public life, a position few his age have ever experienced. As the ceremony came to a close and the family returned to their new home in the White House, Barron's role in the day was largely overshadowed by the broader political narrative. However, for those who watched closely, his quiet presence spoke volumes. It was a reminder that behind every public figure is a private life, and behind every monumental event are the personal stories that often go untold. The memory of that day would stay with Barron as he grew older, offering him a unique perspective on the complexities of public life. His reflections on the event provide not just a window into his own experience, but also a deeper understanding of the human side of a family that has often been defined by its larger-than-life persona. It was a moment that quietly introduced Barron Trump to the world, setting the stage for his evolving role in the public eye. As the years passed, the memories of Donald Trump's inauguration in 2017 became a symbol of both triumph and division in the United States. For Barron Trump, however, it marked the beginning of a unique chapter in his life. The quiet 10-year-old who had stood on the Capitol stage beside his father and mother had remained a subject of intrigue, primarily for his reserved demeanor and limited public appearances. Yet, even as the public spotlight occasionally found him, Barron's life largely unfolded away from the media glare, shaped by the experiences of being the youngest member of a high-profile family. In the months following the inauguration, media outlets continued to analyze Barron's subdued behavior during the event. Some commentators speculated about the pressures he might have felt as the youngest child of a polarizing president. Others focused on his ability to maintain composure despite the magnitude of the occasion. This fascination with Barron stemmed not from his words or actions, of which there were few in public, but from the aura of mystery surrounding him. Unlike his older siblings, who often took to the media to defend their father or promote his policies, Barron remained silent, rarely appearing at official events or speaking publicly. Occasionally, however, glimpses of his perspective surfaced, offering a rare insight into how he viewed that pivotal day. During an interview about life in the White House, Melania Trump once shared how she prioritized keeping Barron grounded amid the whirlwind of political activity. She spoke about how she wanted to shield him from the harsher aspects of public life, ensuring he had as normal a childhood as possible despite the extraordinary circumstances. Her comments hinted at the delicate balance the family sought to maintain, preserving Barron's privacy while fulfilling the public roles expected of them. Barron himself has rarely commented directly on his father's inauguration, but past remarks from family gatherings and interactions have shed light on his evolving understanding of that day. One such statement, recalled by a family friend, emphasized how overwhelming the event had felt for him. "It was like being in the middle of a movie," he had reportedly said, a reflection that underscored the surreal nature of the experience. Such remarks, while brief, provided a window into how Barron processed the enormity of standing before thousands of people at such a young age. By the time Donald Trump's presidency drew to a close, Barron had grown from a quiet child into a tall and poised teenager. His limited public appearances during his father's presidency did little to diminish public interest, with many still recalling his demeanor during the inaugural parade and the moments when he appeared beside his parents at key events. Commentators often contrasted his reserved nature with the more outspoken personalities of his older siblings, particularly Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump Jr., who were prominent figures in the administration. The transition from the White House back to private life was marked by a noticeable shift for Barron. Now a teenager, he began to assert more independence, both in his personal life and in the rare moments when he appeared alongside his family in public. Despite this, the memories of 2017 lingered, a constant reminder of the unique position he held during a historic moment in American politics. For Barron, those early experiences at the heart of his father's presidency undoubtedly shaped his perspective on public life, even if he chose to remain largely out of view. Years later, when Barron reflected on the inauguration, he offered a more measured view of what the day had meant to him. "I was too young to fully understand what was happening," he admitted during a conversation with close family friends. "But looking back, I realize how important it was, not just for my dad, but for the country." His words highlighted a growing awareness of the event's significance, both as a personal milestone and as a turning point in the nation's history. While he had been a quiet observer at the time, Barron's reflection suggested that the experience had left a lasting impression on him. The inauguration of 2017 was also significant for its political and cultural impact. For Donald Trump, it marked the culmination of a campaign that had upended traditional norms and reshaped the Republican Party. The speech he delivered that day, with its stark language about American carnage and promises to return power to the people, set the tone for a presidency that would remain as controversial as it was transformative. For Barron, witnessing this moment firsthand was an introduction to the complexities of politics and public scrutiny, a reality that would continue to define his life in the years to come. Reflecting on those early days, Barron's limited comments reveal a sense of appreciation for the lessons he learned during his father's presidency. Although he has never spoken at length about his experiences, his occasional remarks hint at a young man who has grown increasingly aware of the weight of his family's legacy. "It's not something I think about all the time," he once said during a private conversation, "but I know it's a part of who I am." These words, though simple, carry a depth of understanding that speaks to his ability to navigate the challenges of being part of a high-profile family. As Barron matured, the comparisons between the inauguration in 2017 and subsequent events became a recurring theme in media coverage. Observers often noted how his demeanor evolved over time, with many pointing out that his reserved nature remained a defining characteristic. For Barron, however, these comparisons were likely of little concern. Instead, his reflections on the inauguration seemed to focus more on the personal connections and family moments that defined the day. For those who watched the 2017 inauguration unfold, Barron's presence added a human element to the larger political narrative. His quiet composure and youthful curiosity stood in stark contrast to the heated debates and controversies surrounding his father's presidency. In many ways, Barron's role in the day was a reminder of the personal stories behind the public spectacle, a young boy navigating an extraordinary moment with poise and grace. The lessons Barron took from that day would continue to shape his perspective as he grew older. For him, the inauguration was not just a historical event, but a deeply personal experience that offered a unique insight into the complexities of public life. His reflections, though rare, provide a glimpse into the challenges and opportunities that come with being the son of one of the most polarizing figures in modern American history. As the world moved into 2021, political tensions in the United States were at an all-time high. Donald Trump's presidency had come to a close, and his farewell ceremony at Joint Base Andrews on 20 January 2021 was an event that drew both intense scrutiny and a dedicated crowd of supporters. Though it was not an official inauguration, the farewell carried an air of significance, marking the end of one of the most contentious presidencies in recent history. Barron Trump's presence that day, though subtle, once again stirred interest and discussion. Unlike 4 years earlier, Barron, now 14 years old, had grown into a much taller and more composed figure. Standing alongside his parents and other members of the Trump family, he remained reserved, his expressions measured as the crowd cheered for his father. The event was markedly different from the pomp and ceremony of the 2017 inauguration. The National Mall was notably quiet, a stark contrast to the throngs of supporters who had gathered there 4 years prior. Security concerns and a divided nation created an atmosphere that felt both reflective and tense. Barron's demeanor during this event was consistent with how he had presented himself in public over the years, quiet, poised, and focused on supporting his family. As Donald Trump delivered his farewell address, thanking his supporters and promising to return in some capacity, Barron stood silently with his mother. The family's united front during such a pivotal moment did not go unnoticed, with commentators noting how Barron's growing presence reflected the natural progression of time since his father's first inauguration. Although Barron did not speak publicly during the farewell ceremony, his role as part of the Trump family's narrative remained significant. Observers couldn't help but draw comparisons between the two inaugurations and Barron's appearances at each. In 2017, he had been a young boy, somewhat shielded from the political chaos that defined his father's presidency. By 2021, however, he had become a teenager more attuned to the realities of public life, even if he continued to avoid the spotlight. Melania Trump's influence on Barron during these years became a point of discussion in the media. Known for her emphasis on maintaining a sense of normalcy for her son, she reportedly worked to keep his life as private as possible. Her dedication to shielding him from unnecessary public scrutiny likely contributed to Barron's ability to remain composed during such high-profile events. This dynamic between mother and son, often captured in fleeting moments during public appearances, offered a glimpse into the efforts taken to balance personal and public responsibilities. The farewell event also highlighted the lasting impact of Donald Trump's presidency on his family. For Barron, this meant navigating a unique set of challenges as the son of a leader whose time in office was defined by both fervent support and vocal opposition. While his older siblings often stepped forward to defend their father in the media, Barron's silence became a defining feature of his presence. This silence, however, did not diminish his role within the family. On the contrary, it seemed to amplify public interest, with many interpreting his quiet demeanor as a sign of maturity beyond his years. As Donald Trump departed Joint Base Andrews, boarding Air Force One for the final time as president, Barron's reserved figure once again symbolized the contrast between the larger-than-life persona of his father and the quieter, more introspective presence he brought to these public moments. The image of the family boarding the plane together was both a farewell and a promise of continuity, with Barron's growing stature serving as a visual reminder of the passage of time. In the years following the 2021 farewell, Barron began to reflect more openly, though still sparingly, on his experiences during his father's time in office. Speaking in private settings, he shared insights that added depth to the public's understanding of what it was like to witness such historic events up close. One of his most notable reflections touched on the challenges of reconciling personal and public life. "It's strange to see your family constantly in the news," he once remarked. "You learn to tune it out, but it's always there in the background." These reflections revealed a thoughtful side to Barron, one that suggested he had spent significant time processing the events he had witnessed as part of his father's presidency. His remarks about the inaugural ceremonies, in particular, highlighted a growing awareness of the role he played, not as a politician or spokesperson, but as a family member navigating the complexities of a highly public life. "It wasn't about me," he reportedly said of the inaugurations. "It was about my dad, and I wanted to be there to support him." This perspective resonated with many who had followed Barron's appearances over the years. His ability to remain grounded despite the pressures of his family's public role earned him quiet admiration from supporters and a degree of respect even from critics. It was a reminder that behind the political spectacle were human stories, each shaped by the unique circumstances of living under such intense scrutiny. The comparisons between Barron's demeanor in 2017 and 2021 also spoke to the broader narrative of growth and change. While his father's presidency brought shifts in the political landscape, Barron's journey during these years reflected a more personal evolution. From a quiet boy standing on the Capitol stage to a teenager navigating the complexities of public life, his presence offered a rare glimpse into the intersection of family, politics, and history. As Barron continued to mature, the legacy of those inaugural moments remained an integral part of his story. For him, the ceremonies were not just political events, but personal milestones that shaped his understanding of the world. His reflections on these experiences provided valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities of growing up in such extraordinary circumstances. The passage of time between the two events underscored how much had changed, not just for Barron, but for the country as a whole. The stark differences in tone, scale, and public reaction to Donald Trump's inauguration and farewell symbolized the shifting tides of American politics. For Barron, these moments were both a beginning and an end, each marking a chapter in a story that was still unfolding. As Barron Trump grew older, The quiet moments he shared with his family during historic events like Donald Trump's inauguration and farewell ceremony became part of a broader narrative about his role in the public eye. While he remained largely out of the spotlight, his occasional appearances continued to draw interest, particularly as he transitioned from a reserved child to a poised young adult. By the time Donald Trump's second inauguration came into focus as a hypothetical discussion rather than a reality, Barron's reflections on earlier moments in his father's political career began to take on new weight. In the years following the 2017 inauguration, Barron's public role was defined more by absence than presence. Unlike his older siblings who actively participated in campaign events and media interviews, Barron stayed behind the scenes, a deliberate choice supported by his mother, Melania Trump. She often spoke about her desire to shield her son from the intense scrutiny that came with being part of a political family, especially during such a polarized time in American history. Yet even in his absence, Barron's presence lingered in the public consciousness. The images of him standing beside his father during the 2017 inauguration or quietly supporting the family at Joint Base Andrews in 2021 became touchstones for those following the Trump family's journey. As he approached adulthood, these moments began to take on new significance, particularly as he reflected on his experiences during those formative years. Barron's occasional remarks about the inaugural ceremonies revealed a thoughtful and introspective perspective. He spoke candidly about the surreal nature of standing on a stage that symbolized one of the highest offices in the world. "It's hard to describe what it feels like," he once said in a private setting. "You're aware that it's a historic moment, but at the same time, you're just trying to take it all in." His comments highlighted the duality of the experience. On one hand, a young boy witnessing history. On the other, a family member navigating the personal complexities of supporting a loved one in such a public role. The inauguration of 2017 remained a particularly vivid memory for Barron. As the youngest member of the Trump family, his appearance on the Capitol stage drew considerable attention, even though he played no official role in the ceremony. The media's fascination with his reserved demeanor and occasional moments of fatigue became a talking point, often overshadowing the personal significance of the day for him. Looking back, Barron reflected on how overwhelming the experience had been, especially as someone who was still trying to understand the broader implications of his father's presidency. One of the most striking aspects of Barron's reflections was his ability to separate the personal from the political. While he rarely commented on his father's policies or political decisions, he spoke with clarity about the impact of those moments on his own life. "It's not about agreeing or disagreeing," he reportedly said during a conversation with family friends. "It's about being there for your family, no matter what." This sentiment resonated with many who followed his journey, offering a glimpse into the personal values that guided him through those challenging years. As Barron matured, his reflections on the inaugural ceremonies also highlighted the evolution of his understanding of public life. While he initially viewed the events as overwhelming and surreal, he later came to see them as opportunities to learn and grow. "You don't realize how much you're taking in at the time," he remarked in one conversation. "But looking back, you understand the significance of what you witnessed." These insights added depth to the narrative of Barron's role in the Trump family, painting a picture of a young man who had grown increasingly aware of the complexities of his unique position. The farewell ceremony at Joint Base Andrews in 2021 provided another moment of reflection for Barron. While the event was markedly different from the grandeur of the 2017 inauguration, it carried its own weight, symbolizing both an end and a new beginning. For Barron, it was an opportunity to support his family during a challenging transition, one that underscored the resilience and unity that defined their public appearances. His quiet presence during the event once again drew attention, with commentators noting the maturity he displayed despite the pressures of the moment. Barron's ability to remain composed during such events spoke to the values instilled in him by his parents, particularly Melania Trump. Her emphasis on maintaining a sense of normalcy for her son, even amid the chaos of public life, played a significant role in shaping his perspective. This influence was evident in the way Barron carried himself during public appearances, often exuding a quiet confidence that belied his young age. As the years passed, the comparisons between Barron's demeanor during the 2017 and 2021 events became a recurring theme in media coverage. Observers often noted the stark contrast between the boy who appeared slightly overwhelmed by the grandeur of the first inauguration and the teenager who stood tall and composed during the farewell ceremony. These comparisons not only highlighted Barron's personal growth, but also reflected the broader changes within the Trump family and the political landscape they had navigated. Barron's reflections on these moments also shed light on the enduring impact of his father's presidency on his own life. While he rarely spoke about the political aspects of those years, his occasional comments revealed a thoughtful awareness of the role he played in the larger narrative. "You don't choose to be part of something like this," he once said, "but when you are, you have to find your own way through it." This perspective underscored the unique challenges he faced as the youngest member of a family that had become synonymous with controversy and political upheaval. For those who followed Barron's journey, his reflections on the inaugural ceremonies offered a rare glimpse into the personal side of a family, often defined by its public persona. His ability to navigate the complexities of public life with grace and maturity earned him quiet admiration, even from those who disagreed with his father's politics. It was a reminder that behind the political spectacle were human stories, each shaped by the unique circumstances of living in the spotlight. As Barron continued to grow, the lessons he took from those inaugural moments remained an integral part of his story. For him, they were not just historic events, but deeply personal experiences that shaped his understanding of family, loyalty, and resilience. His reflections on these moments provided valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities of growing up in such extraordinary circumstances, offering a window into a world few could truly comprehend. The passage of time often adds clarity to events that once felt overwhelming, and for Barron Trump, the years following his father's presidency brought with them a deeper understanding of the moments he had witnessed. While he continued to maintain his privacy, his occasional reflections on Donald Trump's inaugurations offered rare insights into how those experiences had shaped his perspective on public life and family loyalty. These moments were not just ceremonial milestones, but deeply personal experiences for Barron, quietly navigating the intersection of history and family legacy. As he matured, Barron's reflections on the 2017 inauguration revealed an evolving awareness of its historical significance. Initially overwhelmed by the grandeur of the event, he later viewed it as an invaluable experience, one that shaped his understanding of the complexities of public life. In a private setting, he reportedly remarked, "At 10, you don't fully grasp the weight of it all. But looking back, you realize you were part of something much bigger than yourself." These comments, though brief, painted a picture of a young man who had come to appreciate the magnitude of those moments, even as he sought to balance their impact on his personal life. By the time Donald Trump's farewell ceremony at Joint Base Andrews occurred in 2021, Barron's role within the family had subtly shifted. Now 14, he carried himself with a quiet confidence that reflected his growth over the preceding years. Observers noted how his presence at the event contrasted sharply with his demeanor during the 2017 inauguration, highlighting the natural progression from a reserved child to a composed teenager. For Barron, the farewell ceremony marked not just the end of his father's presidency, but the conclusion of a unique chapter in his own life, a period defined by intense public scrutiny and the challenges of growing up in a political spotlight. These challenges, though significant, were met with a strong sense of family unity, particularly in the relationship between Barron and his mother, Melania Trump. Known for her protective nature, Melania worked tirelessly to shield her son from the harsher aspects of public life. Her influence was evident in the way Barron carried himself during public appearances, often exuding a quiet maturity that belied his young age. This dynamic between mother and son became a defining feature of Barron's public persona, offering a glimpse into the efforts made to preserve a sense of normalcy amid the chaos of political life. Reflecting on the farewell ceremony years later, Barron acknowledged the bittersweet nature of the event. While it lacked the grandeur of the 2017 inauguration, it carried its own emotional weight, symbolizing both an end and a beginning for the Trump family. "It was a different kind of moment," he reportedly said during a private conversation. "Less about celebration and more about reflection." These remarks underscored the personal significance of the event for Barron, who had come to see these moments not just as public spectacles but as deeply meaningful family experiences. The comparisons between the two events became a recurring theme in discussions about Barron's role within the Trump family. While the 2017 inauguration was marked by youthful curiosity and a touch of unease, the farewell ceremony revealed a more composed and self-assured figure. This evolution mirrored the broader changes within the Trump family and the political landscape they had navigated during those tumultuous years. For Barron, these moments were more than just milestones. They were opportunities to reflect on the values of loyalty, resilience, and family unity. As Barron approached adulthood, his reflections on these ceremonies continued to offer valuable insights into the personal side of a family, often defined by its public persona. His ability to remain grounded despite the pressures of his unique position earned him quiet admiration from those who followed his journey. While his father's presidency was often characterized by controversy and polarization, Barron's perspective provided a humanizing element to the narrative, reminding observers that behind the political headlines were individuals navigating their own challenges and experiences. The lessons Barron took from these events became integral to his personal growth, shaping his understanding of the world and his place within it. "You learn a lot from being part of something so public," he once said. "Not just about the world, but about yourself." These reflections, though rare, offered a glimpse into the thoughtful and introspective nature of a young man who had grown up under extraordinary circumstances. For Barron, the inaugurations were not just chapters in a political story, but milestones in his own journey of self-discovery. The legacy of these moments extends beyond the Trump family, serving as a reminder of the complexities of public life and the personal sacrifices it often entails. For Barron, these experiences were both a challenge and a privilege, offering him a unique perspective on the intersection of family, politics, and history. His reflections on these events provided a deeper understanding of the human side of the Trump presidency, shedding light on the personal stories behind the public spectacle. As Barron's journey continued, the memories of those inaugural moments remained a lasting part of his story. They were more than just historical events. They were deeply personal experiences that shaped his perspective on loyalty, resilience, and the importance of family. For those who followed his journey, Barron's reflections on these ceremonies offered a rare and valuable insight into the challenges and opportunities of growing up in the public eye, a perspective that resonates long after the ceremonies themselves have passed into history. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.